So we'll get this one recorded because I think tonight is gonna be pretty good. I'm gonna go quick on a few things, especially for some of the newer agents. I'm gonna go through what would be when we start Sunday night skills back up. It's gonna be 101, like night one, right? So the Crusade, the armor, kind of like what is Primerica, and kind of just give you guys a little bit of that, and then we'll transition that quickly into some like appointment setting, and if we can get on to a little bit of the recruiting social media, so jam packed tonight. Okay. Licensing, a couple of people had responded about licensing. Guys, I encourage you, if you do not have uh, a appointment already set up for a one-on-one with Angela Weber yet, please do that. Angela is internal to us, right? She handles all of our licensing for everybody. She helps, right? It's just something that she does sort of as like a as an extra duty, just because she likes it, she wants to, and she works with one of our home office partners with licensing. So please utilize her, right? And connect her with your people so that they have an outlet, right? So whenever you bring somebody new in the business, right, orientation, connect them with Angela. That way she can kind of reach out to them and help them with some of that specific one-on-one. If you want to learn some of that, when your person sets that appointment with Angela, ask when they set it and then go with them. That way, Angela can kind of teach you some of that along the way as well, because it doesn't hurt for all of us to know that licensing stuff, right? It's not like she's the only one that can do it. We can all do it because all it takes is just a little bit of learning. All right, so that was a big one. So for licensing, just guys, connect with Angela, right? She's very nice, I promise, right? She doesn't bite, and she will be super helpful when it comes to helping you get through the myriad of different state specific things. Like we're working through some like Utah weird isms right now that we've never seen before because we've never had anybody get licensed in Utah. Okay, so just little stuff like that. Um, Last week I had kind of talked about it, and Melissa had made a good recommendation as far as recognizing closers from the week. And so last week and going into this week, so far, huge shout out to both Aspen Morris and Angela Weber, right? Tons of new recruits so far this month. Matt, big closer today, right? He had closed it last week, but it processed today for his sister, so that just bumped the base shop premium up almost another like $1,100. So that was huge, Matt. Congrats, you're gonna get paid tomorrow for that, so pretty cool, right? I've closed a little bit so far, like this week and last week. Chastity and her daughter Crystal, we've got another appointment coming up tonight to finish that up. So between me, Haley, Crystal, right, we've all got a little bit of that going on. Um, so guys, like the question is always right, like who's next? Right? Like who's next? And so like always think about like, man, like if I'm going to be doing this, I want to be doing something that's productive, right? Something that's going to move the needle, something that's going to like change the scoreboard. And so this month, when we're talking about scoreboard, right? So coach called the play, right? So Andy's called the play hierarchy to 500. So red line to 500. Well, 500 what, right? Recruits within the entire hierarchy. And so Andy and his base shop, they're shooting for 200. I said, look, coach, we can stretch, right? So stretch goal for us is going to be 75 new teammates this month. So if we're going to hit that number, we're a little bit behind the pace. We're at 5 right now. We should be at 11. Okay. And so think about, who have you not reached out to? Who do you think that this would be great for? Who hasn't heard anything yet about the opportunity that you think should, right? If you've been around for a minute and you've gone through some people and you've talked to some people, maybe you sat with them a month or two ago and the price was too high. And so, well, what better time if the only objection was the cost than to reach out right now when it's $60 cheaper than it was last time? It's essentially half price, right? Now's the best time. Reach out. Like, hey, listen, I know it wasn't right for you last time because it was a little bit too expensive, but what if I told you you can get all the same licensing this month and it's half the price? It's only 64 bucks to get you going. People love a deal, right? People love a deal, guys. So let's get that going. The easiest way to sort of get the word out with that is the social media, right? It's that running the play. I will touch on some of that tonight, but I want to get through some of this 101 and the Crusade just to kind of give you guys just some, some armor, right? And so when we talk about the Crusade and the armor, we're gonna go a little history, right? A little bit of history on Primerica, and then founder, and then sort of like how were we built, why were we built, and if you guys have questions along the way, don't hesitate, right? That's what the chat's for. And so most of us, if you've been here for more than like 5 minutes, know who this guy is, right? This guy's kind of a big deal. That's Art Williams. Art founded the company in 1977. Art was not a fancy finance guy, far from it. He was a football coach that wanted to make some extra money. He got licensed with a different company, had learned, buy term and invest. The difference that's relative to like a cash value or whole life insurance policy. And he, back in the late 60s, guys, made an extra 40 grand over the course of 2.5, 3 years. That 40 grand back then is the equivalent of making close to a quarter million today. And he saved every penny that he made from his part-time business. Okay. But that's what allowed him to go full time when he wanted to move into leaving coaching and just doing this full time, because he had 2 years worth of income set aside that if it didn't work out and it didn't go the way he wanted to, he was going to be okay. Right? So he found a better way. And Art wanted the ability to provide that same sort of opportunity to people, right? So most life insurance companies back then were not allowing people to get licensed and then work part-time, right? And so that's what he wanted to be able to build, because he just envisioned an army of part-time agents, right? There a bunch of people out there just all doing a little bit. It's enough for them to, supplement their income. And then if it's inside of your business, if you've got 100 or so people doing all just a little bit, well, that's a pretty good income that you're living and building off of for yourself. Okay. So that was Art. And so why are we here, guys? The the company was really built to try to eradicate the cash value life insurance industry. Okay. And so I'm gonna pull up my little arrow guy here, right? So burn. And then Andy taught me this today, because now I can move this around and I can leave this. Oh, look at me, man. I feel good. I feel accomplished. So guys, look, cash value life insurance, right? Most people, even today, a lot of people have like whole life or cash value life insurance. And most people, for what they're paying for, are drastically underinsured. So we say, look, take the same money, right? Take the same monthly premium and let's get you term policies, and the cost is going to be drastically lower, right? So 82 bucks a month instead of 235 for just the insurance. Buy term and invest the difference means you were spending the same money. So let's take the 153 and invest it. Now, at 65, inside of that investment, ideally a Roth IRA with some mutual funds, guys, you got over $280,000 versus the cash value that you would have had in the life insurance policy. So, I mean, if you had to pick, which one would you pick? Would you want cash value and 74 grand at 65? Or would you want a term policy and over a quarter million with the same money? I'm going to take the term and the quarter million, because by the time I'm 65, I really shouldn't need this anymore. In theory, right? That's decreasing responsibility. And so if that doesn't click yet or that doesn't make sense, we'll kind of keep talking about that. But so here's a better example, right? I'm going to actually skip past this because this one, I don't really like this. I don't like these slides. So have you guys ever heard of Susie Orman or Dave Ramsey? Most people, yes. Has anybody not heard of them? Right? If you've never heard of Susie Orman or Dave Ramsey, well, they're kind of a big deal publicly and in like the finance world, right? So Susie's been, on the New York Times bestsellers list, Time Magazine's world's most influential people. She's got her own show. Literally, this is a quote from Susie Orman, right? You should only look for one type of coverage, and that's term life. And then down here, there's another kind, cash value, which is called a waste of money. I like that one a lot. That one's pretty good. Right? We jokingly will say cash value is trash value. So in cash value life insurance, guys, you're really paying for two things and you're only ever getting one. That's it. Because you either die and take a death benefit, well, your family takes a death benefit, or you die and they take the cash. Well, almost always the death benefit's going to be higher than the cash. And so if they take the death benefit, who keeps the cash? the company, right? The bank, the insurance company, whomever, but it ain't your family. They're not getting both. Okay. And so here's Dave Ramsey. He's kind of got like a big old egg for a noggin, right? Big old head. Cash value life insurance, guys, is one of the worst products on the market. But unfortunately, middle income families kind of get sold that in a lot of ways because that's what they've been told is the best thing because that's what their parents had or that's what their grandparents had, right? People just need to be shown a different way, and that's where we come in, right? And so that's where we come in, right? Most of you have seen this before. Primerica, guys, we're the largest independent financial services marketing firm on the continent. We're huge, right? We're publicly traded. The company's worth, I looked at it today, is about 8.5 billion, right? As the market share goes back up, if the Primerica share price goes back to about 295 over 300, where it was about 6 months ago, we're a $10 billion company. That's a large cap stock. That's huge, right? Millions of clients, right? Right now, close to 6 million life insurance clients, closer to 3 million on the investment side. This is a big one, right? And this stat is not out there in a lot of places. 91% of our claims are paid within 2 weeks, 14 days. Guys, that's crazy. Because like what's one of the biggest complaints that people have when it comes to like bad news around a life insurance company, right? They're like, well, yeah, they had life insurance, but the company didn't pay. Yeah, that would be pretty terrible. But guess what, guys? Like 91% of our claims are paid in less than 2 weeks, sometimes faster, right? And right now we have over $900 billion of term life insurance in force. CEO, right? So Glenn has said earlier this week that our goal is to hit $1 trillion of life insurance in force because this number is actually old. We're actually closer to like 980 right now. We're actually very, very close, right? Look at how much we pay in claims daily. Close to 6 million a day in claims. It's crazy, guys, right? And this number is super old, 97 billion, right? So rule of 72, that money's been compounding. This slide is a couple years old now at this point. I think right now we're closer to 130 billion in assets under management, client money. Think about that. We have $130 billion that we control of client money between retirement accounts, college accounts, you name it, right? That's pretty impressive. Look, guys, so when it comes to life insurance that's out there, 90% of premiums that are out there right now are cash value. I'd have to go find it, but there are stats that say right now that somewhere around 3 to 5% of most American households actually have life insurance. So when people are like, "Oh man, there's so many of you guys, the market's got to be saturated. There, who else could need this?" Well, the answer is pretty much everybody. For real. Pretty much everybody, right? And here's the killer one. Look at that. Almost three-quarters of the cash value policies that are out there are owned by families making less than 100 grand. That's a problem, right? Because I can show you a scenario where in the right sort of way, a cash value policy could work for certain people, but for most people that just need a life insurance policy to, God forbid, replace an income or pay off debts or those sorts of things, a cash value when they're paying way too much for it. Okay. And look at this, more than 120 billion in cash value loans, right? So with a cash value policy, you guys know that if you have cash accumulated in it, you can borrow against it, right? And so if you take some money out and you borrow money from a bank, guys, what do you have to do with it? What do you have to do with that money? Is it just yours? You get to keep it, or do you have to pay it back? Yep. And you guys are ahead of me. You got to pay it back with interest. So you're borrowing your own money. You're loaning yourself your own money. And then in order to not get deeper into like some sort of debt spiral, you still have to make your monthly life insurance payment. And then you also have to make that loan repayment. But if you needed the money in the first place, what are the odds that you're actually going to be able to do that? Not good. Not good, right? And so it's not ideal. So what Art wanted was he wanted a better way, right? He wanted to put the whole life insurance companies out of business. Now, that's impossible. It's never going to happen. It They make too much money. We're never going to put them out of business. It is not possible. But every time we can find one to replace, every time we can educate somebody on having the right amount of life insurance and an investment, we win, right? And the more important thing is the client wins, right? Because they're not overpaying for insurance. They have the right, they have more coverage, and an investment at the end. That's what's important, right? So that's the better way. And so the reason we tell our story through people and not advertising is because we can pay our people way more if we're not spending tens of millions of dollars. These are old numbers, right? I've seen stats that say 1.8 billion. Now that might have been some crazy extra Super Bowl commercial type stuff, but just know that other companies are spending tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising. It's called cost of client acquisition. This is an annual, like Primerica spends almost nothing. Why? Because our commissions are those extra payments. We are the advertising. Guys, you got to remember that in a business like this, people are not buying Primerica. They're buying you. They're buying you. They're buying your trustworthiness. They're buying your credibility. They're buying into what you're bringing to the table. And that's why we pay you so much more than these other companies. That's why we don't have a quota. That's why we don't have a minimum like these other companies. Guys, did you know if you are a State Farm agent, right? You got your sweet khakis, you got a cool red polo, but if you don't hit your, 13 or 14 different like buckets of quotas between home, auto, fire, flood, water, life, wind, all the other different types of junk you got to sell, you don't get paid. You do not get paid your commission for all of the stuff that you sold. You get whatever your flat, measly, like hourly rate was. Trust me, I have brought State Farm agents into the business before, and they told me that they had done somewhere between 15 and 20,000 in premium the month previously, and they only made like $1,000. And I was floored. And I said, look, even if you were over here at a representative contract, literally like the lowest you could possibly be, right? If somebody had done 25,000 in premium at a 25% contract, they still would have made 6 grand. And that's the lowest they could possibly be. I said, look, if you'd have written 5 grand within your first like week license, I'd have promoted you to at least a district minimum, probably a division. So let's go back and say, okay, so now you wrote your first 5 grand and I promote you even just to a district. Now you made 10 grand. Your advance is 75%. And guys, like that's what's so crazy to me when it comes to these other companies. It kills me. It kills me. All right. And then look at this. And this is an old number too, right? So in 2024, so this is a year and a half ago probably, Primerica paid over $1.5 billion in compensation to the field with a B. That's to the field. That does not include anybody from home office. That doesn't include like the CEO, the COO, those guys. To the field, guys, right? Those are field agents. And so, yeah, billion. That's a lot. Right? And I mean, I know the story of art kind of keeps coming back, but listen, it's something that hasn't changed. The part-timer is the revolution in the industry. Think about instead of hiring one person that has to just like sit in a cubicle, you could have an army of people with a license that are just talking to lots and lots of people. And if they go help one or two people a month, that's great because you trained them, you brought them into the business, and now you've got an army of people that are out there and you train them and teach them to duplicate. And the next thing you know, you've got another regional vice president popping out, right? Guys, it's a way to give people a chance to make some extra money. And whether they completely change their life or they're just able to pay their bills better, it's it doesn't matter because everybody wins at that point, right? It's it's a perfect business for whatever you need it to be. Is really the best way to think about it. All right. So linear income versus residual income. So we call this like the quad chart of business. So like right now, if you have a job, right, you have 100% of your income off of one, meaning you. And like God forbid something happens to you, what happens to your income? It's gone, right? So if you have a job, you have money, right? But you have no leverage. And so you're continually in a position where you trade time for money and you're always going to be short on one. There's no way around it, okay? And so like the next piece down from it is you go from that employee to becoming self-employed. Now you just own your job, right? So in that situation, think about like a dentist or a lawyer or a doctor. Well, they make great money, I'm sure, but if they don't go to work or they don't do surgeries or they don't pull some teeth, they're not making any money, right? And so where does that lead them next, right? Then they start investing. Now your money's working for you. Well, your income isn't always as dependent on your presence, but it takes a long time, right? The last piece is you become a business owner. Now we're flipping the model from up here where it's 100% off of one to 1% off of 100. Now, if I've got 100 employees that are licensed and trained and out there, they may not all do something in the month, but half of them probably will in this business, right? Because now you own a system. Now you own a system and people work the system. That's where you become a business owner. And so now you become a business owner and an investor. The easiest way to think about this side, guys, I love the lawnmower analogy, right? If I wake up one day and decide that I want to go cut grass for a living and I get a job working for somebody, he pays me an hourly rate, good, right? I get sick of working for him and I want to go start my own business. Now I own the job. So I bought myself a lawnmower, truck, trailer, but I can only cut like 5 lawns a day, right? That's my cap. I cannot do any more. So I think, well, if I just go buy 5 more lawnmowers and I hire 5 people, or I at least bring them in and say, you go cut these lawns, you keep 40, you give me 10, right? If we're charging $50. Well, now every time those 5 guys go cut a lawn, it's like I was doing it myself, right? So in that situation, I skipped the investor side. I went up here and now I've got 5 guys out cutting a lawn plus me. So we doubled our capacity. I doubled my income automatically. Those guys are happy because they're making $40 a lawn. I'm getting a cut, but my cut is because I supplied the system. I supplied the training. I supplied the tools. Does that make sense? So now if in 1 hour, I just duplicated myself everywhere. Well, do I just want 5 other guys cutting grass or should I go buy 50 more lawnmowers and hire 50 more people? 50 more, right? Why not 1,000? Why not? And I say, why not 1,000 guys? Because anyone that has 1,000 licensed agents within their hierarchy meaning like Andy's got 6 other brokerages inside, right? Once you hit 1,000 licensed agents, on average, you make $1 million a year. Maybe you look at me and you say, no, I don't need $1 million a year. Cool. What do you want? And we'll back plan you into how to get it. But I promise you, if somebody handed you $1 million a year, you wouldn't turn it down. But this is $1 million a year opportunity. Like if you pull up POL right now, we just had our 170th $1 million a year earner within the last couple of days, right? Guys, in the last 70 months, there have been $72 million earners. Literally one a month, new. That's insane. That's literally insane, right? And so when you start looking at the like these are old, right? These are old. But look at this, guys. Look at the people making over 100 grand. Guys, that's insane. That's a lot of people making over 100 grand inside one company. When you look at this number, making over 500,000, there's probably close to 6,000 people, maybe more right now, inside of Primerica making more than $500,000 a year like consistently. That doesn't suck. I don't know a whole lot of other companies that can say that, right? There's probably a whole lot of concentrated wealth in maybe like the top 1%, not necessarily like diffused throughout the entire corporation. All right. Anything worthwhile is going to have critics, and so will you. So this is a good one because I promise you, guys, if you have not run into a negative Nancy yet, you will. Right? They're out there, right? They are out there, and I promise you. And so you just kind of got to take it on the chin because we can go find negative reviews about puppies and Santa Claus if you want, right? It's out there, and you will always find what you're looking for. But if you know that in the back of your mind, right, most trusted life insurance company, most trusted financial company from Investor's Business, Forbes best insurance company. There's another one out there, Forbes best mid-size employer, Fortune 1000 company. We've been publicly traded for 15 years. Guys, we're a multi-billion dollar corporation, and then we've been public for 15 years on the New York Stock Exchange. It's insane, right? 19 straight years of Dalbar Service Awards. That's a mutual fund award. 2 decades of the same mutual fund award in the industry. Okay, I'll take it, right? This is a fun one. This is a fun one because who's ever had this sort of asked to them before, like, oh my God, this sounds like one of those pyramid schemes, right? So the thing that I always come back with is, well, hey, listen, Lisa, I get it, right? You little, right? A little suspicious. Can I ask you, what is a pyramid scheme? And invariably, the answer I always get is, well, man, it's one of those things where the guy at the top makes all the money off the guy at the bottom. And I say, perfect. You mean like your job? And people say, well, no. I say, well, okay, so you mean you can make more money than your boss? Is that possible? And they say, well, no, that's not possible. I say, well, okay, well, so I can. I've made more money than my boss before, which I don't have a boss, but I have made more money than right, my national sales director. I've made more money than him. So how can, like, if that guy's always got to make more money, how that doesn't work, right? So that falls flat. But that's just what people think, right? It's that thing where the people at the top make all the money off the guy at the bottom. But in reality, like the true definition of a pyramid scheme, it's an illegal business where money is taken and no product or service is ever delivered. That's a pyramid scheme, right? Well, if we're paying over $6 million in death claims a day, and we've got about 125, $130 billion in client assets under management right now, life insurance daily, right? Home and auto, and guys, it just falls apart, right? It just falls apart. It's like the pyramid scheme is literally like a Ponzi scheme, right? The only time money's ever paid out is because money's been taken in from somebody. It's like a shell game, and then it's just moving around. That's a pyramid scheme, right? That's a pyramid scheme. And so if you kind of think about it, every organization in the world is built like a pyramid, right? There's a couple of important people at the top. Then you have some mid-level management underneath some like executives. Then you've got some supervisors, and then you've got some employees. There's zero chance that one of these people down, well, I shouldn't say zero, but next to zero chance that one of these people down here are ever going to be this person. You know what's cool in this company? You come in as a brand new rep, you can be a regional vice president. You can be a national sales director. You can be a senior national sales director. Glenn Williams, right? Our current CEO started in the field. I'm telling you guys, like it's a different kind of company. Okay. And when it comes to like your negative reviews and stuff that's out there, I mean, good Lord. Here you go. Right. You want negative reviews? Here's a random clip of a bunch of like the count of negative reviews on a whole bunch of stuff out there. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of funny, but like, look, almost 1 million negative reviews on puppies, right? It's just like when people bring up negative reviews, I just laugh, right? Like I just laugh because you will always find exactly what you're looking for. All right. I'm going to skip through some of this because you guys kind of get the idea. This one's a little bit old, right? So I think 265 was our last stock price. But when this was built, right, 290, we were close to $300 and we were over $10 billion in market capitalization when that happened, right? Here's a fun one. Like if you ever want to just like look up some cool awards, right? Go like in the same Google search, do Primerica and Forbes, right? Primerica keeps like a corporate award page that's up as well, and I'll show you that if you want to see it. But yeah, but I mean, just look, we're out there doing it, guys, right? The company's been around for a very long time, and we're not going anywhere. All right. Here's a here's a good one. Look, when it comes to people like criticizing you or criticizing something that you're doing, I always kind of take a step back and I say, is that person in a position better than me? Right? Would I take advice from somebody making less money than me? Would I take advice from someone who hasn't walked in my shoes? Or in a more open-minded sense, wouldn't it make sense to just take a shot and give it a try if the worst thing that happens is you get an education in money and finance, you maybe get exposed to something you've never seen before and you only make a little bit of money and you've got a license that's yours forever. If that's the worst thing that happens, I would argue you're probably doing okay, right? But what most people will have happen is they'll come into the business, they'll talk to their one, really grumpy uncle that tried Primerica back in like 1991, and he said, "Oh man, that's a scam." And, I love Uncle Jimmy, but Uncle Jimmy never got licensed, and so Uncle Jimmy never made any money. And that's why Uncle Jimmy thinks it's a scam because he didn't make any money. And I say, "Well, look, man, if you never got a license, you can't make any money. It's impossible." Right? It's right? Darn near impossible. There are referral ways that you can make money with some of the other products, but if you want to truly make money here, you have to have a license. Okay. You have to have a license. And so, guys, in this business, you or in this, right, in Primerica, you're a business owner, you're not an employee. And so if people come to this and they come to it with that sort of like 9 to 5 mentality, it doesn't really land, right? It doesn't work if you're trying to build it big and build it fast. If you're just coming to get a license and sort of dabble, right? You kind of like dip the toe in, do whatever you want, right? But if you want to build something and you want to have some sort of impact, right? Think about business owners, right? Do they sleep? Do they take weekends off? Do they take holidays off? Right? Sometimes they plan for it though, right? And they coordinate for it, but not frequently. Not frequently. And so, guys, that's like the crusade, right? So when you think about like what do we do? Why do we do it? Right? Buy term and invest the difference is the big one. The other piece of it that you really want to focus on is debt stacking, so getting people out of debt faster, right? Did I keep the corporate awards up here? Hold on. I know I saved it somewhere. Boom, corporate awards here. And I'll throw this in I'll throw this in Telegram for everybody. So Primerica keeps this up to date, right? So it's out there. I'll throw it in Telegram so you guys can go click on that if you want. But it's all here, guys, right? Awards and recognition. Look at this. Dalbar Mutual Fund Service, Forbes, Best Insurance Company, Fortune 1000, Investors Business, Primerica Ratings, AM Best, right? Accredited with the Better Business Bureau since 1980. Employer Awards, Top Workplaces, America's Greatest Workplaces for Women. That's kind of a cool one, right? Greatest Workplace for Diversity, Bloomberg Gender Equality Index. It's crazy, right? And it just keeps going, right? It just keeps going. And so I wanted to show you that one and give you that way you've got that. What else? What else was out there that we wanted to talk about? We wanted to talk a little bit about some social media stuff. Licensing, remember, talk to Angela. She's your primary point of contact when it comes to that. On the social media stuff, guys, if you don't have an opportunity post up, I challenge you to get one up. And I'm going to give you some like tips and tricks right now when it comes to sort of like monitoring those things. Okay. And so let's look at two different ones. One's going to be like a bigger market and then one a little bit smaller. Right. And so who had some good responses? And if you guys notice, I've saved a bunch of posts, right? So I've saved them that way I can go back and find them easily. If you have people tagging you in posts, right, I would recommend you do that as well. And so here's one, right, from back in November, 32 comments, which is solid, right? But only one share. And so when we think about shares, right, sharing is caring, right, the old adage. Once you get a few shares out there, you want to go track those. Okay. So that one's only got one. I want to find one that has a few more. So let's go. I think Miss Chastity, I think yours had some good ones. Or is this Dustin's? Lord. All right. So here's one. All right. So Chastity, this is a good one, right? So 46 comments, 6 shares. And so when I click the shares, right, I see, okay, good. This can be commented on. I can't comment on it. So there's some sort of issue here, right? So maybe Miss Dee Dee and I are not friends, or she has some sort of setting where I can't comment on it. It'd be a good idea to reach out to Dee Dee and make sure that she has the settings set to where people can comment on it, just in case, right? And then make sure that there are comments in all of these. But how many did we say there were? There were 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's some in here that I can't see. And so when you have a friend that makes a share of your post for you, go back and track it, right? Go back, track it, click the three dots. If you're doing it from your computer, it's the best way I recommend, right? Save it and then turn on the notifications because great chance that people are commenting on that or people are responding to it and you're missing it because you don't have notifications turned on and you don't have an effective way, you don't have a system to go back and quickly go back and monitor those. All right. So that's a big one. And for the trainers out there, most of you guys know to do this as well, but you always want to save that post into a folder and then make sure notifications are turned on. Otherwise, you're probably missing it and you're kind of like hunting and pecking and searching through if you don't have a folder of them saved. Okay. Shout out to Angela Weber because she taught me that like 2 years ago. I was the one that was just like hunting and pecking and like getting lost on all of that. All right. So let's look at this really quick. And so not only the opportunity post, guys, but like once you pass. And so Lisa, for you, this would be a good one, right? So you've passed your, you passed your exam. So this is like a gratitude post, right? It's not like a hey, join, do, whatever. But you still want it to be public and you just want to get the word out there in terms of like gratitude. But look at Jen, right? 238 comments. That's huge. That's a ton. And so when you think about a post like this, you never want to get rid of this because you could come back to this and bump your social media algorithm. And something you guys should kind of start thinking about is when it comes to posting something, whether it's posted for the business or just posted for you, it moves your algorithm. And so the more frequently you're posting something that gets good traction, your profile starts to go into more people's feed, right? It becomes a suggested by the meta algorithm. And so anytime someone comments, I recommend that you start replying to the comment. Heart it, reply to the comment, even if it's just something simple as, thank you, how have you been? Thank you, miss you, see you soon, whatever, right? Make it appropriate for the person that is actually commenting. But in the process of that, it will start to move your feed up into more like a more readily noticeable feed. And so when we're doing it on the opportunity post, though, you always want to make sure that you are responding with a question. All right. And so here's one. And then if you're coming in as well, right? So just little things. See how it says most relevant? I want to turn on all comments here. That way, just in case something's been replied to, I didn't miss it, right? Or I'm not like doubling up on something if I'm coming in behind somebody. And so let's find one that's only got like one reply. So Kayla, right? Super sweet lady, I'm sure. She tagged Ashley. And so, right? Here's one way to do this though. And I'm human, right? I screwed it up. And so she tagged her, and I don't know if they actually like made contact, got connected or not. So watch this. You should be asking questions, right? I should have asked a question up here, right? So, and it doesn't matter what you say. Can you DM her so she sees this? Question mark, right? A legitimate question with a question mark. Guys, what if I ask you a question, what are you likely to do if you hear the question or see the question? Reply, right? And that's the whole point because I think Matt did this one correctly. There you go. Boom. Look, Andrea said she's interested. Matt said, hey, can I send you a message? Yes. That reply in the Facebook world is what's called a genuine connection. And that starts to move the feed up and more people start to see it. All right. And so, Matt, what I would recommend that she does is go in here and type the word at highlight. I'm not going to do it because if I do it, it's going to highlight to my audience and they're going to see her post, right? I would rather that she does it. Or what you can do, right? If somebody doesn't want to make a share for you, say, hey, look, I totally get it. Do me a favor, just go comment in there at highlight. It might pop up. You never know. And this is the one right here, right? The one that's got little people next to it. That's the one you want. You can do that, I think, 3 times a week, right? Don't abuse it because then people are going to get, annoyed because that's all they're going to see from your post or like from your profile, right? But guys, just things with questions, right? Always respond with a question, always heart the comment. And then if somebody tags somebody else, right? Sometimes you ask a question, they don't reply. Okay, that's life, right? But that doesn't mean you change. Okay, you don't change. Yeah. And if you did an ad highlight like a week ago, go delete that comment and then do it again. That way it doesn't look like 10 at highlights in a row kind of thing, right? We don't want that. We don't want that. All right. That's social media side of things. Any questions on any of that, guys? One other thing I will recommend is if you if you post frequently and it's a lot of stuff that doesn't really get engagement or interaction, I would I would get rid of it, right? And so like I haven't looked at Zakira's, page in a while, so she's got her post pinned. It's perfect, right? We like that. And then underneath here, right, probably some just silly stuff, right? And so no reactions, no comments, no reactions, a little bit, right? Because it's family stuff. Um, but stuff that's getting like very, very little engagement, I would just go in there and kind of clean that stuff up. If it's something that you want to keep for yourself later on, just go click it and edit the audience and hide it, right? Make it only you, and then no one else will see it, but you still have it for later if you want it. Okay. So just some tips and tricks on the social media side of things. The other thing we were going to talk about tonight was appointment setting. So appointment setting is simple. It comes down to asking for a favor, just asking for a favor, right? Getting some training and just looking at what you're doing. And if they can use it, great. And if not, that's okay too. All right. And so the appointment setting audio is probably the most important thing that you can use to sort of like refresh your brain on what it should sound like when you set an appointment. And the other thing that you can use is the like the very like generic script that's out there in the orientation packet. There's two different versions of the orientation, or excuse me, of the appointment setting script. One, if you're trying to set an appointment for a like an interview or a recruit, and you're just like in person. The other one is what you're most likely going to be doing, and that's for setting like a client appointment, right? A kitchen table. We call client appointments a kitchen table because back in the day, right, when we weren't on a Zoom, if I went to your house and I sat down, we would probably be sitting down at the kitchen table and running the appointment, right? So let's cover this really fast. What is an appointment? It's a time and a place, right, to give a presentation, right? You're not ambushing somebody. You're not trying to like sneak up on them at a barbecue, right? And gotcha, sit down, right? No, it's like set the appointment. And so most of the time it's going to happen initiated via text. I'm being real with you. I know it's going to happen to start via text, but please, once the text is there and you know somebody's got their phone, call them. And it sounds really simple. It sounds like this because, like, Lisa, if you were going to call your brother, right, you don't need a reason to call your brother. Right? You just call him up. Like, hey, Mike, what's going on? Right? Good, right? Everybody's good, kids, great, whatever. Small talk for like 15, 20 seconds, maybe. For your brother, probably 30 minutes, but whatever, right? Hey, listen, the reason I'm calling is I don't know if you saw this or I don't know if I mentioned it last time we talked, but I'm working on some financial licensing. I just got my Texas life license. I'd love to just set up a time on Zoom to show you what we're doing. And that way, if you guys can use it, great. And if not, you'd know more about what I'm doing, right? That way you could send me some referrals in the future. So, hey, listen, as far as us getting together, it's on Zoom, right? It's super simple. When's better for you, weekday or weekend? Today or tomorrow? The yes, yes portion of that script is going to vary and change based on your schedule, your trainer's schedule, what you think you probably know about that person, right? And you sort of just lead it. Like if you know he works Monday through Saturday, like, hey, what's going to be better for you, man? Saturday or Sunday? Just lead with what you think is going to land. But if you're trying to get something quick, like, hey, today or tomorrow, tomorrow or the next day, and then wait for answer. Because if you ask a yes or a yes question, the odds of you getting a no answer go down drastically. So please ask a yes or yes question today or tomorrow, weekdays or weekends. And if you go general, like weekdays or weekends, you're going to have to narrow it down again because they're going to pick. Well, probably the weekends. Right? Awesome. Like Saturday or Sunday? Saturday? Perfect. You want to do like in the early afternoon, evening, morning? Kids got soccer still? What's going on? Right? Oh, afternoon, perfect. And you've got the calendar pulled up. My calendar, Haley's calendar, whoever your trainer is, right? If you're independent, your own, right? And then you just give them another choice. Like, hey, listen, afternoon, I've got one or two available. What would be better for you? 1 o'clock? Person, listen, I'm just gonna pencil you in for 1 o'clock. If something changes between now and Saturday, Lisa, just give me a call. We'll get it moved. But I want to get you at least a time locked in for Saturday that we know works because my schedule fills up pretty quick. Sound good? Awesome. Listen, do me a favor. Throw this in your calendar because if you're anything like me, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist, right? It ain't real. And I'll see you Saturday at 1 o'clock. Okay, you'll get a Zoom link. Super simple. I'll see you then. Boom. That's it. Whole thing should take 3 minutes at the most, right? 2 minutes if you're comfortable. But you're not going to get comfortable if you don't say it out loud. Go practice, right? In Telegram, Angela just put it, she just put the appointment setting audio for practice from Ian. I didn't wake up knowing this, guys. I listened to that audio that she just put out there, the SoundCloud, back and forth to work every day for like a week. And it just burns into your brain and you start saying it out loud and you can't unsay it, right? And then all of those tie downs that you start using, like, am I right? Sound good? Right? All of those yes, yes options, they start working. Hey, guess what? You can use it on your kids. They work on your spouse too, right? You guys start getting into an argument, you start a firm answer closing your spouse, it's going to work. Hey, listen, babe, I know I screwed up, but you would agree we all make mistakes, am I right? It's going to go over great. It's going to go over way better than you like just blowing up on somebody, right? Yeah. Practice with your friends. One of the things that I've been kind of toying with, not that I want to put another meeting on the calendar, we used to do Saturday boot camps. So we used to do Saturday boot camps and they would sort of rotate, right? One Saturday it would be appointment setting. One Saturday it would be recruiting. One Saturday it would be closing, right? So if you're licensed and you need help with kitchen table appointments and stuff like that. And so I'm open to doing it, but I also need to know that I'm not going to just be the only one there on a Saturday staring at myself, right? And so if that is something that you guys want to do, then let me know, put it in Telegram, right? Just let me know and we can sort of start feeling that out again. I'm not talking like 2, 3, 4 hours. I'm talking like an hour. Show up, move into some breakout rooms and go practice. We'll have some of the other trainers in different areas. Um, right. And Crystal, that's okay. If you can't do a Saturday, we'll record them. Recording inside of breakout rooms is kind of a pain. So only like mine, the main room where for whatever that would be the one recorded. Um, but but we'll play with that. It's just another way, right, for touch points, and I'll probably do it for a couple of weekends and kind of see how it goes. And if we get nobody showing up, I just won't do it anymore, right? But I would rather at least throw it out there to where we can have another opportunity for somebody to be able to make it. So that's coming up, probably maybe this Saturday or the Saturday after ECBS, like towards the end of the month, but we'll see. We'll see. I will, if we did one, what would you guys want to do first? Right? If we, because we're only going to do like ideally want to focus on one thing. That way I can run it and we can get it recorded. What would you guys rather focus on? Would you want to see like a mock recruiting appointment, or would you want to see a mock kitchen table client appointment? KT. Okay. All right. Well, let's do that then. We'll plan for this Saturday. I'll look at my schedule and see what's available. I'm thinking probably somewhere noon, like noon or one, somewhere in that area. Um, and we'll go through it. So um, uh, we'll see. So Anna, that's a great point, right? So like somebody actually like, sort of like registering and planning to be there. I love that idea. Um, but sometimes people register and then still don't come. So I do like that idea. But for this first one, especially with it being a kitchen table appointment, I'm just gonna do it kind of no matter who shows up, and then I'll record it regardless. Okay. So guys, that's it for tonight. We got about 9 minutes left. I will stick around if you've got any questions. I do have an appointment after this though, so right, I have to finish. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate, right? Send it to me. Put it in Telegram, ideally, because that way everybody gets to see it. I promise you, you're not the only one with that question. Um, and let's go get it, right? So if you haven't made a post recently, let's do it. If you're uncomfortable doing it, we have ways around that. You can say, "Hey, my friend's financial firm is hiring," right? And then we can kind of go down that route. That's the route that I started in the beginning because I wasn't sure with, still being active duty in the military how that would work. So that's where I started, or that's how I started. And so let me know what you need, but I gotta go. Proud of you guys, right? For real. So last month we finished 22,000 and change and 31 recruits. This month, our goal is 75 recruits and 50,000 in premium. Lofty goal, I know, right? It's your goal's got to be big enough to kind of fit everybody else inside of it. And so if it doesn't scare you a little bit, if it doesn't kind of like make the hair on your neck stand up a little bit to throw it out there into the world, it's probably not big enough, right? 50 by 75 recruits, we used to be pretty consistent in that range. We can get back there. I know we can, right? All it takes is a couple of people, right? It takes a couple of people. You're one recruit away from an explosion, right? Um, what question? I, Serena, you had a question?
Yeah, if I wanted to post the pyramid photo that you showed us, can I
Yeah.
share that on my Facebook story?
I recommend you don't
Okay.
because you're sort of antagonizing at that point, right? You're
Okay.
you're you're drawing attention to something that you don't really want attention on, right? So that's one of those where you have that sort of like ammunition in your arsenal if it comes up, but you don't provoke it.
Okay.
That makes sense?
That does.
Yep,
Thank
exactly.
you.
Yeah, don't create the problem before it exists, right? It applies to many more things in life than the business, but for real, don't create problems before they exist. Because the last thing you want to do is antagonize the people that you're in theory asking for help, right? All right, guys, love you. Gotta go. If I'll see you at 9, I'll see you at 9. Yeah, bye, guys.